Ames International. We find and grow your leaders. And welcome to the Tips and Tricks podcast series, written by Gregoire Depassage and Leonie Pence. In our practice as executive search and HR consultants, we are confronted daily with candidates, their history, their approach, their beliefs, right or wrong, their attitudes and tactics, and are privileged observers of their interaction with recruiters and line managers. This is an attempt to share the lessons learned and give some practical tips as to how to improve your chances in the market. Some of the things listed will seem obvious, but you'd be surprised by how often we see even seasoned managers make mistakes they could easily avoid. This is episode 4, Recruiters, how they work and how they think. How does a recruiter's mind work? How do you maximize your chances of getting to the next stage in the process? How do you awaken an interest in your profile? What do you need to know about their modus operandi that could help or hinder you? The answer lies in understanding their motivations. As in all walks of life, you will find there are good recruiters and bad, long and short-term oriented, quality conscious and rudimentary, ethical and unethical. Some will think only of their own short-term interests, while others will have a more balanced approach. The long-term interest of a recruiter, whether a headhunter, contingency recruiter, in-house recruiter, or even HR manager, will be the same as that of the company or his or her client, namely to find the best possible person for a role at the best possible cost. His or her short-term interest is, however, quite different. They therefore face a series of dilemmas. Best fit or first fit? The long-term interest of the recruiter is to find the best possible match for a role, while their immediate gain is to close the search as quickly as possible for maximum profitability or KPI fulfillment. In-house recruiters are often measured in the number of days needed to close a vacancy. Lowest or highest cost? Again, the best way to ensure client satisfaction would be to provide them with the best value, while their short-term interest is to attract candidates with a higher cost. Why? Because it's easier to sell the role if the salary is good. The headhunter's fee is often a percentage of the salary, so the higher, the better. This also contributes to shortening the duration of the search. Higher potential or lower risk. At a time when you hear everywhere that the value of experience is lessened because we live in a world of constant change, everything concurs to increase the chances of the most conventional candidate, as opposed to the flamboyant outsider who represents a risk but could potentially deliver exceptional results. The line manager who hires such a candidate and fails will be held accountable, and so will the recruiter. Large corporations in which it is difficult to identify a clear chain of command and in which compliance is first and foremost do not encourage risk-taking. Client first or candidate first? Even though the recruiter is representing both parties and should do ethically so, the money comes from the client. Recruiters are therefore understandably more focused on their clients or assignments than they are on candidates. Recruiters find people for jobs, not jobs for people. It follows, therefore, that the recruiter, who in the end is no more than a supplier, has these objectives corresponding with their role. Quality, the ability to deliver good candidates. Lead time, the ability to do so quickly. Reliability, candidate information, for example, salary or mobility, should not be contradicted by said candidate at a later stage, and candidates should be interested and committed to the process. And finally, profitability, cost of finding the right person, finding the right candidate. Based on these insights, when dealing with headhunters and recruiters in general, there are a few things you should do and, on the other hand, avoid. When you are contacting a recruiter spontaneously, ask yourself why they should take time out of their day to talk to you. You might fit a current vacancy, unlikely, or a potential one, possibly. You might also be a source of information or even a potential client. Don't assume that your profile is of interest to them at that time. Also, don't act in an arrogant way or insist a lot when they don't respond. Seek rather to maintain contact by reconnecting periodically, like every few months, for instance, so as to be top of mind with them. Remember, they actually want to hire you. If the recruiter doesn't call or get back to you after you sent your resume, it means that you don't fit the required profile. Bear in mind that there's a lot of things you won't even know about an open position, even if those cases were advertised. The recruiter's objective is to fill the role as fast as possible, so they will make sure to reconnect if you do fit. Again, don't harass them, but rather inquire politely and not too often. Don't negotiate at the first contact. Remember, the headhunter's primary concern is not with your salary. When he or she asks you for an indication of your compensation level, they only seek to ascertain whether you are in the range budgeted for the role. If you're not, they'll tell you. Responding that you are not looking for a job at the time, beating around the bush before giving the information, or even using similar negotiation tactics won't achieve anything really. It might rather annoy and create a negative impression as you are making the recruiter's life difficult. Be reliable and consistent. And this goes without saying. Respond to messages and queries truthfully, or at the very least in a consistent way. Don't hide information or change your expectations once you've agreed these with the recruiter. For example, increasing your compensation expectations after this has been communicated with the client, or bringing up new elements you didn't mention before, confirming you're geographically mobile but later saying that you want to go back home on weekends or work from home, not responding to messages, all these can be a negative impact on your future as a candidate. Make it easy for them. Remember that the recruiter has a client. Show flexibility, be proactive, and don't ask too often what the situation is. You can be assured that their aim is to close the assignment as soon as possible. So, if there is a delay, it may mean that you are a reserve candidate. Nothing you can do about that, don't worry. Or simply that there is a delay on the client side, and pressuring the recruiter will achieve nothing. Try to build a personal relationship. Be truthful, be interested, and be open. Show empathy and try to establish some sort of trust. This will make the recruiter feel good about promoting you as a candidate. In short, remember the recruiter's interests are not necessarily the same as those of the hiring company, and adapt your behavior accordingly. Be a reliable partner and try to show the authentic you to ensure that you will be offered suitable roles with a good culture fit in which you can be happy and successful. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Tips and Tricks podcast. Head over to our website, aimsinternational.com, for all 6 episodes of the series. Have any questions? Be sure to contact us. Aims International, we find and grow your leaders.